Hey, what's up? This is Dillio, and I'm going to teach you how to make your vocal recordings not suck.
Dillio T2K.
Welcome back to another video. This is a video talking about Dillio's vocal recording chain. This is not the rule. This is not the end-all rule. This is how I like to do it. If you have suggestions, I'd like to hear it, but this is how I like to do it. If you want to hear how this stuff works, you can listen to my latest album, Magic Box, and it's basically me doing all this stuff and a couple of updates. All right, so let's dive right in. Now, before I begin, I'll start off from the beginning. I built a recording booth. I did not use a shield. I didn't use a chaotic eyeball. I personally feel like that those are great. I've tried shields and it's okay, but I still hear the room more. Now I use a booth, and I did a video on when I first built the booth, so I don't want to go into that too much detail. If you're interested in seeing that video about the vocal booth I made and built from scratch, the link is in the description below. Okay, so that's step one. For my sound, if you like how I sound, that is fundamentally the most important part to me. You can give me a crappy microphone and put it in that booth, and I'm very happy with the results. So that's step one. Step two is the microphone. I use an AT2020 microphone. It was a birthday gift actually, and I haven't used anything else since. And it does its job. It's not a Neumann. It does its job. I'm glad about that. I wish it had more sheen to it, but again, it's an AT2020. I don't even know if it's still $100 now. Great microphone. I cut pretty much all my albums on it, except for maybe the early ones. So that's important. And then, before I even get to the computer, I have an LA610. The LA610 is an optical compressor. Sorry about my optical compressor. And that was a great tool, and it really smooths out the vocal. Gives me a great signal coming in. And it's a very nice sounding compressor. And when I had a Neumann TLM 103 on it, it was sounding like butter. I want another Neumann microphone, but if I do go after one and try to save up and hustle up for one, it'll be a Neumann U87, and that'll probably be the last microphone I ever buy for this type of application. So those are the three steps. And then the preamp coming in is a Project Mix IO. It's an M Audio product. They don't support it anymore. I want to eventually upgrade, but that's what I have. And it works great for what I do. All right. So now that we got those external steps out of the way in my vocal chain, now we're in a DAW. My DAW choice is Studio One 4. Not recently, but I used to be a Pro Tools guy. Pro Tools over everything. And I got tired of getting used to it not working a certain way and having to work around it. Studio One 4 has turned my smaller computers from barely working to working like a new computer. It's incredibly stable, incredibly fun, great visual. So, and this can be applied to any DAW. So if you don't want to use Studio One 4, you want to use Logic or Pro Tools, the same things applies because the plugins are what's doing the work now. All right. So let's start off with my vocal chain inside of the channel. First, I'll start off with Autotune. I like to take the vocal as naturally as possible to hear, to let it do its thing. It probably could work on any step of the channel process, but I like to put it there. I was using Waves Real Tune. I made it work, but I remember Autotune vocals sounding better. Like I could feel the difference, the transition in between the notes. So obviously I use this on vocals. Everybody uses this. This is no secret anymore. All right, so that's step one in the chain here. The next thing I use is Fat Channel. Now, all you really need is versions of any of these kind of plugins to work in here, but this is a great place. So in the Fat Channel, always start off with a high-pass filter. The high-pass filter rolls off low frequencies, as you can see demonstrated by the equalizer here, because obviously there's a little rumbling in the room, maybe some AC on. And this is important because I record in a flawed room. I specialize in recording in a flawed situation. I don't have optimal circumstances. So I'm not in a perfectly isolated room with a raised floor and perfectly acoustically treated walls. I work in a picture, hustle, and flow, right? Egg cartons on a wall type stuff. But I still create great recordings. High pass filter. This is step one. Do this automatically. Don't even think about it. Just do it. It's automatic. Like, I'd rather it just be a switch. You just turn it on. And the reason I do this is so that I can get rid of low frequencies, clean up the vocals, the last thing you want, or even footsteps or just extra stuff. Just clean it up. The last thing you want to hear is your subwoofer activated by your vocal channel. It should not happen unless you're trying to record a dragon voice or something, but that's a whole nother video. Next, we move on to the gate. This is a way to block out computer noise. I record very close to computers. And a good way to solve that problem is to move the computers in another room. But that is a logistical expense in itself. Possible. But gates is a good way to block out extra noise, keep that track silent. The thing is that you're trying to avoid hearing the recording point start in the recording. And that's something to pay attention to. And that's hard to hear in a noisy room. Like, I record in a noisy room because I have a computer in this room. And unless I'm really paying attention or listening in the car and take the time to get rid of that pre-roll, or I don't take the time to gate or strip silence, we'll talk about that in another video. You're gonna hear it's gonna remove the professionalism. Typically, the only time you hear audio coming through is when my voice is going through, and that masks the junk that the microphone has no choice but to pick up. This is about recording in a flawed situation, not recording in the optimal situations. I don't know. Maybe I just have too much fun making that work, and people still asking me, "Wow, why does it sound so great?" And just years of experiments. And sprinkle a little full cell in there. So the gate is a great tool to filter out. I'm sorry about stuttering, guys. Filter out junk. All right. Next, we move on to the compressor. The compressor is very important. Even after I've given the computer a compressed vocal, sometimes I'm going to add a little more. I like this because this reenacts the LA2A. I keep getting it mixed up because I have a compressor called the LA610. This is the LA2A. That's why I like Studio One. You got a nice set of tools that comes with the Pro version. I like that. You got to be careful not to add too much compression, because if you do that, you will sop up the noise floor. Okay, and you'll squash the vocal. You'll sop up the noise floor. You'll amplify the computer fans, which is kind of like my number one enemy. You'll sop up the computer fans into the mix, and it ruins the recording. So I just don't do it. I have to find that balancing point. But that goes back to the vocal recording booth. The vocal recording booth helps me get the noise floor down low enough to compress more without bringing up the echo of the room. There has a limit. Even with the booth I built, there's still a limit. But just building that up and getting that compressing going on with the lowest noise floor as possible is very important. Let's go to the equalizer, which is my next step. And I'm still in one plugin, the Fat Channel, Studio One. And there's other plugins that have everything in there. I just like this because it's just clean. It's proprietary to the platform. The compatibility is probably on point too. EQ, I don't really do much here. I typically think it's better to cut. I really don't do much here, to be honest with you. I used to try and do this to add air to kind of make it sound more, quote, professional. Nah. That's not necessary because, and we'll show you why in a second, but you can cut things here and there. I work in a flawed room, so I know that it's easy for me to miss a lot. But I kind of have a philosophy of, okay, let me give as quality a project as I can, but still deliver content to my fan base or my listeners, which don't care about any of this. It's very important though. But I think you don't want to get so caught up in all this and not put out music and put out content. Limiter, this is something I don't use. I should probably. I don't, to be honest with you. But it's there for a reason, so maybe I should do some research. you know, not using this doesn't prevent you from getting your music on the radio. Because I have a song playing in Flint right now. The next thing is DeEsser. De-essing is a great tool to remove sibilant frequencies, so the S's, T's, and S's. You have to have a good set of monitors to reveal that to you. I expect them to be there, so even though I may not hear them, I'll still cut on purpose, and a lot of times the result is not heard until I listen to the music in the car, because the car I listen to has very strong tweeters, and they kick. So doing something to bring that down is a good idea. Breath. D-breath. Another tool. There's a bunch of plugins that do this. You want to get rid of those breaths coming in. And I definitely do what I can to reduce that. Another secret sauce tool is the Aural Exciter. This excites kind of like the high-mid frequencies and kind of puts frequencies in there that aren't really there. This is more of a polished sheen you can add to pretty much the whole track, or you can add it to your vocal. I typically like to just add it to vocals. And that's it. Great tool. I didn't really know about this one. I understand the principle of exciting things audibly. But this adds that sheen. You got to be careful because you add too much, like around 9, it's too much. Too much. So, and then I'll use a Valhalla reverb nowadays. There's so many options, and then I use my good old replica from Native Instruments for echoes. Now, typically we'll mix and mess with those there. But that's pretty much a standard run through of my vocal chain. So, in quick review, I start off with a vocal booth to give me the best possible chance in a flawed situation, imperfect situation. AT2020 microphone going to a LA610 compressor, being sent to a Project Mix IO, coming in here, being processed by Autotune for pitch correction, get the vocal sounding perfect. Fat channel high passing, put a gate to get rid of the noise floor. Also use strip silence for that. A little bit of compression if I feel like it's necessary. Typically I don't really need it because I already have a compressor coming in, but if I want to add a little bit more or hear it more, add it there. Equalizer, you already see that already rolled off the lows. You cut here, and I don't really add here for air anymore because I use the exciter to kind of find that sweet spot in between too much and too little. I de-ess, I de-breath. De-breath could probably go up front here in the chain. And then I excite with the Aural Exciter. And that typically gets me in the ballpark of a good vocal. And that is Dillio's vocal chain. You have any questions, comments, good or bad feedback, leave them in the video below. If you like that kind of stuff, I think that pretty much breaks down my vocal chain. This is what I've been doing for years. It doesn't take much, really. And you can do this in any platform. You can do it in Studio One, Pro Tools, Logic, Ableton, FL Studio. It doesn't matter. And I hope this helps you. I hope you enjoy this type of video. And I'll see you in the next one. Make sure you hit up DillioT2K.com. All right, I'm out.